Brooke Schubert is an artist from Queensland who recently had two different singles released, one under her own name, New Kids in Town, and another, Simple Things with Route 33. She has appeared on The Voice and Australian Idol and also seems to have a good handle on TikTok. So I'd like to ask her about these things. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, how are you going, Sophie? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I'm going to start with perhaps a big question. What do you love about being a musical artist?
The freedom of emotional expression, I guess, because I feel like for music, for me growing up, it was my out. I lived in central Queensland. There was no one else creative around, except for my mum, who taught me guitar and taught me how to write songs and things like that. But other than that, there wasn't really anyone my age. So for me, that was freedom. Wasn't old enough to drive, but I could create my own world, with writing and playing. So I think that's pretty much sums it up for me. And it's still the case because now I've got kids and I'm always looking for an escape. Not really, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So how lovely that your mum taught you guitar and taught you songwriting. So was she a guitarist from childhood or a musician from childhood?
Yeah, so the whole family, there's a long line of women in our family and we are all musically inclined. My mum, all my mob are from Gympie. That's the first thing. So she went to the first Gympie muster and was at the Tamworth Country Music Awards with the Webb brothers when they won the golden guitar for Who Put the Roo in the Stew. And so there's a big connection. My auntie was an opera singer, all of that stuff. And it's really cool to see it now passed down to my kids as well. So yeah, it's always been there and it's always going to be there. So there's no point denying it. Might as well make a career out of it.
Yeah, what a beautiful lineage to be in. I'm curious, when she was teaching you guitar, did you have the normal kind of parent-child friction of, don't tell me what to do?
I imagine that it would have been like that, but I actually don't remember. She caught me early enough. I actually don't remember learning to play guitar at all. So I think that was probably, on purpose, right? Because it's a pretty hard skill. You get the sore fingers, apparently. So yeah, I don't actually remember any of that. So super lucky.
And when she started to teach you songwriting, were you co-writing or did she set you tasks, like homework tasks, and say, I want you to go and write a song about whatever?
Yeah, so I was, it was hard. I feel like most of that came from listening to other music and her like putting on like Vicar and Linda Bull or the Eagles or Slim Dusty and saying, this is a verse, this is a chorus. And, these people are telling stories, obviously, because we're from North Queensland or Central Queensland. We had Graham Connors. I grew up with his music and he obviously painted the picture of what I was looking at nearly every day. So his songs are like my life. So to have mum explain all that to me and then for me then to go on and write songs in science class worked out really well.
Yeah. So at what age did you start performing? Because clearly you had the technical guitar skills from a young age. Well, actually, I should ask you rather, when did you start singing?
Just like everyone else, I think that sings and has a family history of it as soon as I could talk. That's all there was. And so I think the earliest memory is 3 years old singing to Young Talent Time right before it finished. And my favorite song was I Should Be So Lucky by Kylie Minogue. So I just walk around the house just singing that, I should be so lucky, like just that all the time. And so it's always been there. And it's that thing that if I don't do it, I don't feel like myself. So it's like if I've lost my voice, I feel like I've lost a leg, like I can't function properly. It's like my meditation. So yeah, it's really important for me to be able to do that. Yeah.
So as you said, you come from a lineage of performing women. But performance is not necessarily a natural thing. It takes a bit of practice and a bit of nerves and all that kind of stuff. So at what age did you think, like, I want to do this now?
I think I was about 9 years old, and we had the best thing about small towns is we had a country music club, and all of the country music club would go to every talent quest. So we'd go to Charters Towers, we'd go to Tamworth, which takes like 2 days drive, by the way, but we'd do all that. And because it's just so important for country kids to have some sort of opportunity to know that there is more than just what you're living in right there. And so I was 9 years old and mum said, well, do you want to go to the Gympie muster? This is the first thing that I went to when, I was, starting to play out. And I said, oh, yes, please, let's do that. And I went into the talent quest there, and like, it took me time though. Like, mum didn't let me play guitar and sing at the same time until I didn't have to look at my hands.
Right.
So, but because of that, I was more a confident performer, and I could actually concentrate on my vocals and stuff. So even though it was frustrating at the time, there was a method to the madness. And so, yeah, the muster on stage in front of like 25,000 people after Slim Dusty, it was my first proper time. And that's where I got the bug for it, because, yeah, you can't find any sort of feeling that is better than that. So, yeah, started early.
So have you and your mum performed together?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. So we actually, that same small town that I grew up in Moranbah, she took me into the pub there. I think I was maybe 13, and I'd be singing to all of my school teachers and be sworn to secrecy of everything that would happen. So like, it was early, and I had to sing everything that mum wanted to sing as well. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to sing, all of Gina Jeffrey's back catalogue, which was my thing then. And so I had to learn all of the Eagles, all of the Creedence, all of the Little River Band. And so it sort of created a world of music really, really early, but with country roots, because that was my surroundings.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the Eagles, and the Eagles get a mention as well in your new song, New Kids in Town. And this is a really great upbeat, feel-good track. How did it come about?
Funnily enough, I think probably because of coming from up north, it's like 2 hours to Kmart, 2 hours to the biggest town. So driving was our whole childhood. That's all we did. Every single school holidays, we'd leave town and we'd drive. And so I quickly found that driving is my meditation as well. It's like, when you can just put the windows down, turn the music up, especially without kids in the car, and you can just relax, and listen to what you want. And on the way home from Tamworth last year, I was driving up the New England highway. I'd been there for a long time, listened to a lot of music, and I was like, I just need to tune out. So I put the Eagles on, of course. What else do you do? And I think it was Anzac Day, because it was when Tamworth was in April. So I was driving home on Anzac Day, and I heard something, and I put the windows down. I was like, what is that noise? And it was one of the fighter jets coming over the top, because they do the fly around the country, right?
Yeah.
And while the windows were down, I was like, da, 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 da. And I was like, oh, hang on a second. Press voice recorder on my phone, and I literally, everything just fell out while I was driving home. Right. So yeah, that's exactly where it came from. It's always the road.
Because as you were saying, driving was a meditation, I was thinking, I wonder if you write songs in the car, and you've just answered, because so many songwriters say that happens, that they're driving, an idea comes, and then they have to pull over. Well, hopefully they pull over and then record
Right. I don't know if it's like maybe a left brain, right brain thing, but yeah, it definitely works for so many of us. And, you can't touch your phone. You can't do all these things that you'd usually fill up your day with. So it's perfect.
Yeah. So when you write a song like that, where the ideas come to you in the car, do you then like to complete on your own, or do you tend to work with co-writers?
For that particular one, I came straight home, and that night I've got a set up here in my studio, and I demo everything to almost exactly how you hear it. I'm a producer myself, so I love digging in and really like working with the tones and the sounds and things like that. So I did all that myself. I do the drums and the bass and all of that stuff, and then I take it to my producer. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 months later, I rang Jared Adlam at the Gold Coast and said, oi mate, I got this idea, let's book some time please. And he was like, yeah, sure. So yeah, it just all came together so quickly, I think, because not only because Jared is insanely talented, but I already had that bed, and I already had that, that idea of where everything was going.
So given that you produce yourself, do you like working with another producer because it's a different perspective?
Definitely. And I'm not always right. I don't know everything, and I don't pretend to either. I feel like music is like one of those brilliant things where you're never going to know everything. It's life. It's like life though. I think like there's always room to improve. Tiger Woods has a caddy. He has a golf coach as well. Tina Arena and Celine Dion have vocal coaches. So you need to, I feel like, and I've taken from them also, like, you're never going to know everything. Just be open, and to find that sort of kindred spirit in Jared, who can sort of hear the same thing that I hear. like if he'll come up with an idea and I was like, oh, that's okay, yeah, beautiful, I'll say something and he's already got the tone there. It's really important to try and find that, and it's taken me, how old am I now, 36? It's taken 36 years to find that.
So, but I actually don't think I saw in your bio that you're a producer. So that really interests me because it's obviously a technical skill. It's a separate set of skills to,
Yeah.
being a musician is a technical skill, but it's a different way of listening to music, I suppose, and putting things together. So did you teach yourself that so that you could record demos? Or
absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Because once I started, because I've gigged my whole life, right? But once it came to writing and my first trip to Nashville, I was like, okay, well, I want these songs to actually sound like I can hear them. And that's so important because what I hear is obviously it's my story, it's my influences, it's going to sound like me. And so for that, it's super, super important. Unless I've got, the opportunity to like make someone else's idea come to life as, as a co-writer, a song that's been written for me, which is also on the album. I'm super, super lucky that I've been able to develop that. But technology is incredible. Like I can do everything, almost everything here. And, but then we go and track everything properly. And, but it's exactly what I want every single time. So, and if it doesn't turn out right, I've only got myself to blame.
True. And I imagine it would be, it's a great skill to have so that you can bring that whatever tracks in your head to life. And I'm curious now about how many demos you have socked away and how you choose between the songs you've demoed for what to release.
Oh gosh, so many demos. So the thing, I think also because there were so many different types, like genres of music growing up. We had mum listening to Slim Dusty and Donovan. And then my dad was listening to like Black Sabbath and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And so I've always ended up being somewhere in the middle, but the storytelling has always brought it back home. And country music is sort of where I fit. I'm a little bit left of center, but I sort of love that there's always going to be that bit of edge there. And that's like throughout the whole collection that we're working on at the moment. It's not that pop thing, but it's me, and I'm super proud of that. But there's so many demos, it's ridiculous. As soon as those kids go to bed, I'm in here, don't worry.
Well, you have in terms of your sound, which is a country rock sound, you do have this incredibly powerful voice, so I think it suits to have big power behind it with the music.
Oh, thank you. A bit of a foghorn, that's all that is.
I disagree completely. Now, your first EP was released in 2012, and you've released quite a few tracks since that time. There was the occasional gap. You are working towards an album. Why is now the right time for an album?
I think the kids are older, and that has always been the biggest thing, because I'm not just an artist, I'm a mum, I'm a taxi, I'm a soccer coach, I'm a wife, and my husband flies in and out for work, so he's gone for a week at a time. So there's been so many stop starts, but I think the most beautiful thing about music is that it's never leaving me. It never leaves any of us. It is able to influence us at any age, and the older I get, hate to say it, but the older I get, the more stories I have, and the more less afraid. Like there's like a little bit of inhibition as well, because I'm not afraid to actually say what I'm thinking now, or actually write about, my friends' lives and my life. Like it's a little bit of a liberation, actually, coming from just being able to write about, love and how everything's going so well, because that's not life. So that's sort of where I'm at the moment. And an album is sort of on the way. It's crazy. Excited.
So you mentioned passing on the love of music to your kids. Do they play instruments now? And also, do they think what you do is cool?
At the moment, they think I'm cool. I know that's not going to last, and that's okay. I'm prepared for that. But they are super musical. So we've got the 3-part harmonies happening already. My youngest is just turned 8 on the weekend, and my eldest is 10. And so, Jeremiah's like learning guitar. Jonah's a drummer. It's already there. And so hopefully I'll have a really cheap band one day. But it's the love of it too. Like that same thing that I had so much in common with my mum, I suddenly have it with my kids. And I tell you what, just to have that thing. And even if they chose not to be musical, you know, we'd throw ourselves into everything else. But just that it so happens that this is what they actually really love to do at the moment. And so, you know, that's all we can do is, you know, help them along and throw as many genres at them as possible. We listened to Beethoven this morning and then we had Led Zeppelin, the Savi. So we're all over the place.
They probably won't realise for a while how great it is to have a studio set up in the house because you're there recording things as well. And I imagine for school projects, this could come in handy if they start.
They'll probably end up bringing, you know, friends home and say, oh, look at this Fender or look at this Gibson. And I'm like, no, that's fine. I can see it now.
Yeah, no touching exactly. The guitars. Now, you haven't quite yet collaborated with your children, but in recent times you have collaborated with Will Day and Route 33, and these songs are actually quite different to each other. So I was wondering if it was the song or the collaborator that attracted you to these projects.
It's always, well, it has to be the collaborator first, right? Because I'm a people's person. I love people. I think living up north so long, I was like starving for new people, you know, like, and now I get to be around creative people all the time and people that love music and live it and breathe it. And so when I met Will, it was natural. I was like, oh, well, you're a really good guy and you have great songs, and we had the same producer, and so to do that was incredible. And then to do the new song with Jock and Trent from Route 33, like they're some of my best mates, and I love footy, so we love talking footy all the time. So there's always like, yeah, there's definitely that you know, person connection, that human connection first. And then, you know, if you want to spend more time all together, then why not, you know, make some music?
Yeah. And actually that song with Route 33 came out pretty close to New Kids in Town. And I was thinking, gosh, this is a busy few days for Brooke.
I know, it was actually crazy. I did backing vocals for Travis Collins on his song Any Less Anymore. And that came out the week before that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've gone from 4 years of nothing to suddenly having my finger in 3 songs all at once. But I just love working with people. Like music's such a people industry, and I'm so lucky to be a part of that.
What would be really convenient is if Route 33, Will and Travis and you were all at, say, like the Gimpy Muster, and then you could fuck for everyone.
That would be amazing. Well, I've popped up for a few of them, but never all at the one event yet. So we'll see how we go.
Yeah, time may tell. Now, you have appeared on 2 high-pressure competition television shows, The Voice and Australian Idol.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the experiences?
I loved it. And I think possibly because I went in there knowing that it wasn't the be all and end all. Okay. I think that was really important. I'm a really good observer of people. I love sitting back and just watching. Like, you put 200 creatives in a room, it is crazy. So I like sitting back and just watching everyone. And I was just super lucky and happy to be around other people, to be honest. Like, I didn't find it high pressure at all, but maybe that's my personality. I don't know.
Well, I guess also because you have been performing from a young age, and so some of the nerves that might have otherwise been there may not have been there. And also I imagine you performed in lots of different circumstances. So that's another circumstance.
Possibly. I don't know. Like, I think you end up growing a pretty thick skin when you're singing under like the footy playing above you on a TV and everyone's cheering for the footy and you're like, thank you, I'll take it. I know it's not for me. It's okay. But it's there's a few years behind me there. Yeah.
Well, a breadth of experience. You did start at a young age. I keep saying that. So it's a few years starting young. Now, you are very handy at TikTok. I was looking at this. Did you take to TikTok naturally, or is it one of those things where you thought, okay, I better get my head around this?
I have trouble connecting with Instagram as a mum and as an artist, only because I just feel like sometimes it's not the truth of what's really happening in situations, or the picture that's painted of some people's lives isn't necessarily what it is. And I always approach everything from like that human aspect. I don't know how to be anything other than myself. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I jumped on TikTok one day, I downloaded it, and I was like, hang on a second, like these people are actually, posting about their everyday lives, and there's a super supportive community. Like there's actually, it's a different vibe. And I really gravitated towards that more than any other platform that I ever have. So also I've gone live on there a few times, and the stats are insane. If you spend a few hours on there and just have a chat, I feel like that's all that we all really want, is that connection, you know, to other people, and that definitely has, you know, those capabilities if you're willing to do that.
Well, and also, you know, you can test out music or test out bits of music and tease new releases. It's proving quite effective for that.
And worldwide as well. Like when I jump on, there's not usually, you know, a whole lot of Aussies. They're all like Americans and from the UAE. Like it's so cool that, you know, music just keeps bringing people together.
Well, it does indeed. And I was going to say, is it a good way to connect with your audience? Do you feel that when you're connecting with them, that it is not, I'd say not equivalent to a live audience, obviously, but the same kind of vibe that you're in it together?
Yeah, definitely. And I think especially in this age, people are looking at, you know, the phone for validation. They're looking for connection before they go out anywhere. It's easier to look at this than it is to get dressed and leave the house and listen to live music. So I try and, like, when I do go live, I always try and make it like, hi, how are you today? Like, just like we are, you know, sitting having a coffee, you know, and that's super, super important to me, because you never know you never know what people are going through. And so if you can create that human connection through a screen, then it's 100% worth it. So
from what I've heard you say, it sounds like your job, or you consider an important part of your job to be that connection with the audience. It's not just, oh, I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I'm a performer. It's actually, my role here is to try to make life a little better, actually, for other people.
100%. So this is something that when I record, I do this because I don't know if it makes a difference, but it's something that I really like to do, is that when I'm recording vocals, I really, really like just focus my energy in on all of those notes and the way it's sitting and all that, you know, positivity and gratefulness. And I just want that to come through, because that's sort of what I do, and that's how I look at music. That's how I relate to music. It's always made me feel really good. And so I love the uplifting songs, and, you know, there's a few hard hitters and there's some sexy moody things happening later on, but it's just, I love just bringing people together. That's my thing, because we all need each other, right? So it's and there's no one better than, you know, a room full of people all seeking live music. That's a great crowd. You could go by yourself and you're going to make like at least 20 new best friends. So,
well, and I do think there is a warmth and an immediacy in your voice on those recordings. And in New Kids in Town, it just sounds like you're having fun. And that means the listener has fun, because you're essentially saying, I've got it. You know, you can relax. I'm having fun for both of us. And then the listener doesn't have to do any work.
Absolutely. And it's nice to have those songs. Like the other ones are really important too. You know, the storytelling and the ones that, you know, you're able to relate to, like on a human level, whether it's about loss or anything. But for this particular start of this new chapter, I was like, let's just get some happiness and positivity. And it's really working, and it makes me feel really good singing it too. And that's huge. Not faking it. I can't fake that. While
you're working on this album, you've got some festival appearances coming up, including the Gympie Muster. Does a festival performance require a different kind of energy to any sort of show, or are you now adept at just moving through different sorts of shows and offering the same thing?
No, because I think it's a problem that I have. I'll tell you, don't tell anyone though, that I can't sing the same song the same twice.
Okay.
I really love being able to bounce off people and like just creating that exchange, like, because live is my thing. I could not live without singing live. And so having that exchange is so important. So I know that if I'm, you know, doing a particular show and I know it's going to be like later, okay, I'm going to beef everything up a little bit, like let's get like really dirty with the sound, but I love being open to change things up. But there's always going to be that thing that's always the same, and that's me. I don't change it.
Nor should you.
No point changing now. It's too far gone.
You can find where you're playing on your website, I'm sure. In the meantime, we have New Kids in Town, and we have your songs with Will Day and Route 33. I mean, Will's song's been out for a
Yeah.
while, but it's still a lovely song. I listen to it regularly.
Thank you.
Brooke, it's been really lovely to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to your album.
Thank you so much for having me, Sophie. I appreciate it so much.
My pleasure.
What a treat.